In the beginning of the drama, we see our female lead named Shin. She is a cartoonist who writes romantic comics, but romance is missing in her work and even in her life. While sleeping on a chair, she falls down and due to tiredness, continues sleeping on the ground. After that, we see people in the office meeting discussing Shin's comics and pointing out the lack of romance. The executive editor defends her, saying she is young and self-dependent. But the chief editor warns that if she continues like this, she may be removed from the company. Then Joshin talks to Shin and tells her she must create a good romantic comic or lose her job. Shin replies that she will write a new comic with fighting scenes, but Joshin says it looks more like wrestling than romance. Shin asks what love feels like. Joshin explains that in love the heartbeat becomes fast. Shin gets confused, and Joshin becomes frustrated and gives her romantic books, asking her to study them and submit a romantic draft by 5 p.m. tomorrow. In the next scene, Shin sits on a bench thinking for ideas and eating snack. A dog comes and she feeds him. The dog's name is Lucy, and Shin decides to help him find his owner. Suddenly an alarm on the dog's collar rings, and the dog runs, with Shin chasing him. Meanwhile, someone tracks the dog's location. The dog reaches a man and starts barking. When he turns around, it is the male lead Jian. Shin sees him and finds him very handsome. Jian apologizes for the trouble caused by his dog. Shin asks if the dog is male or female, and Jian says it is a boy. While they talk, Lucy chases a butterfly, making Jian fall on Shin. He apologizes, and Shin says it is an accident. Then Lucy jumps on Jian, and due to this both accidentally kiss. Jian quickly gets up, while Shin lies there thinking why her heartbeat is so fast. Later, Jian apologizes again and says he will pay for the snacks, but Shin refuses and asks for his number instead. Just then she gets a call from Joshin, saying the draft deadline is today at 5 p.m., not tomorrow. Shin tells Jian she has urgent work and asks him to wait, then rushes to the office. Joshin asks if she has started work. Shin says no, but it is in her mind and quickly begins preparing the draft. Meanwhile, we see Jian waiting for Shin, but then he receives a call and has to leave. Before going, he writes his name and number on a paper, but as soon as he leaves, the paper flies away. We see Shin quickly preparing a new draft, drawing the same incident that just happened to her. Joshin is surprised seeing her change style and asks how she improved so fast. Shin shyly says she felt everything she described about the heartbeat. Joshin asks if what she drew really happened to her. Shin confirms it. Joshin becomes happy and tells her to publish it and also meet that person. Shin remembers she told Jian to wait near the lake and rushes there, but he has already left. Joshin calls and asks if she met him. Shin says no. Joshin tells her to find him somehow. Shin sits on the bench praying he doesn't leave the city. Meanwhile, Jian meets his friend Ling, who reminds him about blind dates arranged by his grandfather. Jian says he doesn't want to marry now. Ling says his grandfather won't agree until he gets a girlfriend. He asks if Jian remembers being close to any girl. Jian mentions he kissed someone today. Ling asks if he loves her, but Jian says he is not interested in love. In the next scene, Shin is in a restaurant with her friends and tells them everything. She says her heartbeat was very fast and wonders if it was a dream. Suddenly, a girl accidentally spills water on her. The girl and her friend apologize. Shin's friend tells them to leave and mentions a handsome professor named Professor Jian, whom all girls admire. He is very strict and only remembers students by ID number. He is the same person Shin met earlier, Jian. That night, Shin posts online that her golden retriever and a handsome man are missing, asking for information and offering a reward. Next morning, she gets a reply saying they were seen at Chin Bing University. She goes there and asks a girl about them. The girl realizes she means Professor Jian and asks if something happened. Shin admits they kissed. The girl gets shocked and tells her the lecture hall location. Shin goes to the architecture building and enters the class. Professor Jian arrives, and Shin keeps looking at him, greeting him. He ignores her and starts the lecture. She begins drawing him in class. He notices and asks what she is doing. She says she is taking notes and hides her notebook. After class, he calls her to his office. There he sees her sketches and returns her notebook. She finds a memory card in her bag. He takes it and checks it, seeing his own photos. Shin says she didn't take them. He then asks how she opened the locked box. She opens it easily in front of him, surprising him, and explains her father is an architect. He asks her wish. She says she wants to stay with him and see him. He agrees and makes her his assistant. She happily accepts and adds everything to her comic. Later, Joshin notices new drawings and suggests making the artist her assistant. Shin says only a girl could have made them. Meanwhile, Professor Jian tells Ling about his new assistant. Ling is surprised confused because he keeps firing assistants. Professor Jian says she is not special, but her work impressed him. Shin then arrives and takes his schedule. He doesn't remember her name and calls her by ID number. He gives her many tasks and tells her to complete everything before his next class. After that, Shin asks why only 7 days. Professor Jian replies that he can tolerate anyone only for 7 days. Meanwhile, the same girl named Shiv is seen taking Professor Jian's photos. Shin asks Professor Jian why he doesn't call her by name. He replies that for him, name and number are the same. Shin refuses and says she can call him by many names and starts calling him different names. Professor Jian asks her name again, and she tells him. He comes closer and says he will call her 5, which makes her feel awkward. She asks if she can send him a WeChat request, but he refuses, gives her more work, and leave. While leaving, Shiv is again seen taking his photos. Ling meets her, and it is revealed they already know each other. Professor Jian also arrives, and it is revealed Shiv is his cousin. She runs a fan club and sells his photos because they are in high demand. He takes her camera away. On the other side, Shin searches online how to make someone remember her name. During lecture, she sits under Professor Jian's table with her name written in different ways to make him remember it. He drops his pencil, notices her, and asks what she is doing. He suddenly comes close to her, but it turns out to be her dream. She wakes up, shocked. Meanwhile, Professor Jian tells his cousin to apologize for putting the memory card in Shin's bag. She refuses, so he threatens her with the camera, and she agrees. He then sees photos of Shin in the camera. Someone asks who she is, and he says her name is Shin. In class, Shin tries again to get his attention by placing his things and hiding under the table. He already notices her and asks what she is doing. She says she was just finding something, and he tells her to sit properly. Shin decides she has 7 days to make him remember her name. She starts trying everything, writing her name on her clothes, showing it to him repeatedly, putting her name on his coffee, food, and even his computer wallpaper. Professor Jian gets disturbed, but still doesn't call her name. Next day, Shin learns he has gone back home to his architecture firm. She realizes she only has 6 days left. She finds heavy work assigned by him and gets worried. Later, she meets Shiv again, who apologizes and reveals she is his cousin. Shin tries to get information from her, but Shiv is difficult. Shin uses the memory card to pressure her, and Shiv agrees. Shiv tells her that reputation is very important to Professor Jian. Shin thanks her and returns the memory card. In the next 6 days, Shin works extremely hard. On the last day, everyone in college praises her. The director tells Professor Jian that she completed all work and asks him to thank her. Professor Jian also finds his unfinished project completed by her and asks Jean about her, but Jean forgets her name. He realizes she is trying to make him say her name. Later, he goes out in the rain searching for her. Shin also comes there and asks how her work was. He says she did very well but still failed. He begins to leave, and she follows him. He tells her to close her umbrella, so she stands under his umbrella and asks if he is angry. He says no. Shin asks why she failed then. He says she is only his assistant, so why did she work so hard? He adds that since morning everyone has been talking about her, and from every person he only heard her name. After that, he says, "Did you hear your name? You did all this just so I would remember your name." Hearing this, Shin asks if her efforts were useful. Suddenly a passing car splashes water on them. Professor Jian lowers the umbrella to protect them, but another car splashes water again and both get completely wet. They go to the university, but the locker room is locked. Shin says her clothes are inside, so Professor Jian takes her to his cabin. Shin asks if it is okay for them to stay like this since all staff have left. Professor Jian looks at her, and she quickly says she didn't mean anything. Then they hear footsteps. Professor Jian pulls her inside and holds her hand. He gives her clothes to change. Shin asks if they will change together, but he silently leaves. She changes and comes out, and then he goes to change. Shin thinks that if she could see him, it would be easier to draw him and starts imagining him. Suddenly, he appears in front of her. She quickly denies any wrong intention, but he says it is a poor excuse. Shin asks if he remembers her name or is pretending. She says she worked very hard, but he says he only wants to know her motive. He comes closer, and she sits back on a chair. He asks her reason for becoming his TA. She says there are 2 reasons, one simple and one complicated. The complicated one is love at first sight and wanting to stay with him. The simple one is that she needs him. He asks if she always confesses like this and tells her to be honest. She insists it is the truth. He says he will fire her because her intentions seem bad. She asks what is bad in her intention. He says she came to his class became his assistant, distracted staff, made him wet, and even now her actions are suspicious. She argues that their kiss happened because of Lucy, so she is not at fault. While arguing, she slips and falls on him. At that moment, Professor Jian's grandfather arrives and sees them. He asks if they are dating. Shin says she is not a student and shows her ID, saying she is 24. She also says she worked. The grandfather says they make a good pair and calls her closer. Professor Jian tries to leave, but the grandfather says he arranged blind date. He asks if Professor Jian has a girlfriend. Professor Jian looks at Shin, and the grandfather assumes she is the girlfriend and asks her name. Shin gets excited, thinking he will finally say her name. She asks him to tell it. He is about to say Shin, and she becomes happy, but he stops her from hugging him. Meanwhile, Shiv declares herself his fake girlfriend to avoid blind date. The grandfather accepts it. Next morning, Shin submits her comic to Joshin, but Joshin says romance is still missing. Shin says romance won't come because he doesn't get close to her. Joshin says she must go closer to understand love. Joshin gives her a manga fan club card. At the meeting, other fans explain girl manga basics and tell her to meet the biggest fan. A second male lead appears, who dreams of becoming a cartoonist and works part-time as a waiter. Shin asks him for help with girl manga. He harshly tells her to give up drawing. She gets upset and leaves. Later, he realizes he was too harsh. At night, Shin goes to buy noodles and meets Ming. They both grab the last packet. After a short argument, Ming lets her take it. They discover they live in the same house and become roommates. Ming is poor and hungry, so Shin shares noodles with him. She also shows him her comic for feedback. He says there is no romance and advises her to experience love herself to improve her story. Following his advice, Shin tries different methods, even dressing up to impress Professor Jian, but nothing works. She directly confesses again, but he ignores her and tells her to step back. He asks her to think about something she likes. She thinks of fried chicken. He says she likes fried chicken more than him and tells her to leave. Even in the library, Shin keeps trying new ideas, but all fail. Professor Jian becomes frustrated and finally gives her some books. He tells her to go and give these to another teacher and also gives her his card and asks her to bring fried chicken on the way back. Shin goes to buy fried chicken, but some girls stop her. They are the same girls who were earlier Professor Jian's assistants. They introduce themselves and say they were fired in 1 to 2 days, but she stayed 7 days, so she should leave Professor Jian, otherwise she will regret. Shin says okay. She will regret. Then she tells them to wait and goes to bring something. Professor Jian gets to know from students that his assistants are bullying his current assistant. He goes to find her. Shin comes back with a stick, so the girls get scared and say they came to explain, not fight. Then they all share their pain about heavy work given by Professor Jian and also talk about his ex-girlfriend. Shin also shares fried chicken with them and listens. Professor Jian arrives and smiles seeing Shin. The girls leave. Shin tries to run, but he takes her with him. He tells her work is enough for today and asks if she ate fried chicken. She refuses and thinks about his ex-girlfriend. Later, Professor Jian's cousin tells him that she is a fake assistant and not a student. He realizes the truth. Shin feels he will be angry, so she leaves her ID card with a sorry note. Professor Jian cannot find her, takes umbrella and goes to search her. Shin is working all night because of office deadline. In morning, she faints due to fever. Ming finds her and takes her to room. She refuses rest and wants to finish work, but Ming helps her. Professor Jian keeps calling her for meeting, but she does not pick. His old TA comes and says Shin told her to help him. They find the PPT pen drive is corrupted. Shin prepares half presentation and brings it to office. While leaving, she faints again and wakes up in hospital. Professor Jian brought her there after she fainted in meeting. She apologizes, but he says no need and says he canceled meeting to help her. At bus stop, he tells her to take medicine. She feels nervous and remembers him. On bus, she falls on him and proposes to him. He says not to announce in public. She asks if she can chase him. He says he will get down next stop. Driver jokes bus will not stop, and she has 20 minutes. They talk privately. She says she can wait for his answer. He says he is not interested in love. She says she will not leave him. He leaves without clear answer. Next, she goes to office and apologizes, but finds she completed work early, so Ming helped her. She is told to join fresh talent competition. Her drawings show someone else helped her. At cafe, Ming works and gives coffee art. Ting, writer of Thundercloud comic, rejects it and says it is outdated. She insults a girl's comic. Ming argues with her, but later realizes Ting was right. Shin finds Professor Jian's card in her pocket and understands he is keeping her close, so she runs away. Next day, she goes to Professor Jian's office, Then his friend sends her to his house. At door, she misunderstands Ling calling Professor Jian darling and tries to leave, but Professor Jian clears misunderstanding. Inside, she asks Ling for contact. Professor Jian gets jealous. Ling is later fired. Shen is given strict house rule. No interference in work, no restricted areas, and she should not stay there or must stay in guest room. At night, she is sent out. Next day, she gives comic draft. Ming is angry and criticizes male lead. She tells story details. She also mentions secret room. Ming tells Bluebeard's story where curiosity leads to danger. Shin gets scared. Later, Ming loses his key and wallet. Shin also left her key at Professor Jian house. They call carpenter and enter house. Shin cooks sweets for Ming. He asks what she wants. She suggests he become professional artist. He says he is skilled but no talent and feels discouraged. Shin motivates him, shows his drawings, and says he should not hide talent. She asks him to join competition with her. He agrees to think for 3 days. Next morning, Professor Jian finds her key and smiles. Next day, Shin comes to his house, makes breakfast, notices his injury. He lies it happened while sharpening pencil, but actually from fixing light. She tells him to take care. After that, Professor Jian is going to office and says he will be very busy today, so she should take care of his house and Lucy. He gives her his house key along with other keys. Meanwhile, Ting goes to the cafe to meet Ming, but finds out he already left the job. In the next scene, Shiv comes to Professor Jian's house and gets shocked seeing Shin there. She calls Professor Jian and makes Shin talk to her, which confirms that Professor Jian allowed her to stay there. At the same time, Ting meets her editor and business partner Huan. She is angry because she cannot meet Ming, as she likes handsome and talented boys and often hires them. The editor says she must collect more fresh talent so she can use their skills for business. This shows Huan only cares about profit. Meanwhile, Ming gets a call from Rangpan Company. They say he is selected for final interview. He says he lost his ID card, so he asks if he can still attend. They tell him to reapply with original document. He gets worried because his documents are with his brother. He then sees a telephone booth nearby. Focus shifts to Shiv and Shin. Shin asks about the secret room. Shiv says she also does not fully know, but once she saw a telephone there and thinks Professor Jian is waiting for someone from the past. Suddenly, they hear a phone ringing from that restricted room. Shiv refuses to go, so Shin goes inside and picks up the call, but it disconnects. She calls back, but no one answered. At the same time, a call came from the telephone booth where Ming is standing, suggesting a possible link between Ming and Professor Jian's brother. Before Shin can put the phone down, Professor Jian arrives, holds her, and takes her outside. Shin apologizes, but he goes to his room silently and continues working. Later, Shin records a sorry message, but he ignores her all day. At night, when she leaves, all street lamps turn on automatically, which shows Professor Jian is silently caring for her. Meanwhile, Ming's house scene happens where Shiv tells him about Shin entering the secret room. Ming explains another ending of the story. The king already knew the queen would enter the room and gave her the key intentionally so she could know his truth and still accept him. Shin starts thinking maybe Professor Jian did the same with her. A few days pass and Shin does not go to his house. Shiv tells her Professor Jian is very sick. Shin gets worried and rushes to his house. She finds him very weak. She says she opened the door with his key and will leave if he does not like it. Professor Jian pulls her, but both fall down. He says he is fine, but she insists on taking him to hospital. He refuses. She tells him to remove his shirt to cool his fever. He starts doing it, making her shy. He tells her she can leave now, but she refuses and apologizes. He tells her not to repeat her behavior. He pulls her to the sofa and tells her to stay quiet, and both fall asleep there. When she wakes up at night, Ming calls her and gets angry. Professor Jian takes her phone and says she will stay at his house tonight, then cuts the call. Ming feels something familiar in the voice but ignores it. Meanwhile, Ting's assistant hides Ming's resume and artwork out of fear he might lose his position. Next day, Professor Jian asks Shin to come with him somewhere. He tells her to stay at his house overnight. He gives her a guest room and tells her not to leave before morning. He also checks her phone after she forgets it. Next morning, he lies about hearing noises at night. He arranges clothes and makeup for her. Later, at a bookstore opening, Shin becomes the mascot. Professor Jian feels sleepy due to wrong medicine. Shin takes him aside and he lies on her lap, asking her to keep talking so he does not fall asleep. Meanwhile, Ting's signing event is happening downstairs. Ming also arrives, and she is asked about her most regretted work, and she mentions Thundercloud. After that, she says she did not want to write that comic, but due to company pressure, she had to write it. She speaks badly about the comic, which makes Ming very angry. On the other hand, Shin tells Professor Jian that she is a cartoonist. She writes comics under the name Baby 7, but before she used the name Sherwoo. This shows that Thundercloud was actually her work. Meanwhile, at the event, people ask Ting questions. Ming also asks her if Thundercloud is her work. Everyone gets shocked by this question. Ting says yes, she wrote it. Ming asks her more questions, but she cannot answer properly. He says Thundercloud is not her work, because if it was, she would have continued it. Ting gets angry and orders her bodyguards to chase him. Ming runs away. Shin sees that Professor Jian is asleep and has not heard her. She gets a call from Ming asking for help. They realize they are in the same mall. Shin tells him to come to the top floor. She leaves Professor Jian sleeping and goes to find Ming, locking the door behind her. Professor Jian slowly wakes up. Ming calls his brother, Professor Jian, but Shiv picks up and cuts the call, though she recognizes him. Professor Jian sees Ming and runs towards him. Ming also runs. Shin is searching for Ming and sees Ting without her costume, which shocks her. Flashback shows that Ting and Shin once worked together on Thundercloud, but Ting stole credit and betrayed her. In present, Ting shows Ming's video and misunderstands Shin, thinking she sent him. She orders her bodyguards to catch Shin, but Professor Jian arrives and takes Shin away. Professor Jian worries about Ming and calls Shiv for information. Ting becomes angry as Ming's video goes viral. Her assistant Jean shows Ming's profile and drawing. Ting is shocked by his talent and wants to recruit him, but regrets her earlier action. Shin finds out Professor Jian's tablets are for sleepwalking. Ming receives a recruitment message from Rangpin Company, sent by Ting. He calls Shiv for documents, but Professor Jian arrives and takes him to a cafe. Ming is still angry with his brother. Professor Jian tells him to join his company, but Ming refuses. He gives him needed documents and says if he gets the job himself, he will leave him alone. Ming agrees. Professor Jian tells him to attend the interview in formal clothes and leave. At home, Shin falls asleep on the sofa. Professor Jian carries her to the guest room. Later, he realizes his sleepwalking medicine is finished, locks Shin in the room, and goes to sleep. At night, Shin wakes up and sees Professor Jian near her. She thinks she is in his room, but it is guest room. He sleepwalks, pulls her closer, kisses her forehead, and sleeps again. Next morning, Shin is very sleepy. Professor Jian asks what happened. She gets angry inside. Flashback shows Professor Jian sleepwalked at night, took her blanket, locked her room, and kept the key. At the interview, Ming sees Ting again. She tells him to apologize, but he refuses. He says he does not need her help. He leaves, but later regrets it. Professor Jian arrives and takes Ming away. Ting learns that Baby 7 Shin has become #1 with her comic, overtaking her work. Meanwhile, Professor Jian brings Ming with him. After that, while they are going home, Ming gets a call from Shin. She tells him the good news that their comic is now #1. She also asks him to become her partner and tells him to come to her company and sign the contract. Ming becomes very happy, but before he can respond, Professor Jian snatches the phone. He puts Ming in the car and talks to Shin himself. He asks her what her relationship with Ming is. Shin says he is her partner. Professor Jian tells her that if she cannot help him, she should not give him false hope. Shin says to leave Ming's matters to her, and she will handle it. The call ends. Then Professor Jian sees that Ming has saved Shin's contact as my crush. Ming goes to Shin's company. Joseon tells him his contract is ready and Shin has already signed it, so now he should also sign. Ming asks about Shin. Joseon says she has gone to her boss's house. Ming then realizes the comic story is not based on Shin's friend, but on Shin's real life. He is shocked and calls Shin to come home. Meanwhile, Shin hears a noise from Professor Jian's room. She checks and finds him fallen from the bed, and she also sees his sleepwalking tablet. At the same time, Shin finds a diary where Professor Jian is tracking his sleepwalking condition. She learns that if he does not rest properly, his attacks will continue. Shin tries to help him lie on the bed, but he suddenly kisses her while sleepwalking. When he wakes up and realizes what happened, Shin quickly steps back and says it was an accident, then runs outside. She calls Ming, who is waiting outside Professor Jian's house on an electric bike, to celebrate the comic's success. Ming comes there without knowing it is his brother's house. Shin joins him on the bike, and Professor Jian watches them from outside and gets jealous. They ride around happily. but at night the bike's brakes fail and they keep riding again. Later the battery dies, so people push the scooter home. Professor Jian follows them by car. When Ming and Shin go inside, Professor Jian asks the watchman about them. The watchman says they look like a cute couple, which makes Professor Jian more jealous. He calls Shin and gives her work with a deadline of half an hour. Shin leaves immediately in a taxi. Professor Jian blocks traffic to delay her, but still reaches home first and pretends everything is normal. Shin comes back on time and asks if he had another sleepwalking episode. He apologizes, but she says he did nothing wrong and is a good person. Professor Jian notices she is wearing the same shirt Ming wore earlier. Shin says she bought it online. Then he gives her work to sharpen 20 pencils with a knife. Shin tells him she went out with her roommate on a bike. The next morning, she wakes up and finds a note from Professor Jian telling her to come outside. She goes out and sees him with an electric bike. He asks her to go to office with him on it. She happily agrees and imagines he will hold her waist, but he places a teddy between them. On the way, the bike battery dies again and Professor Jian tells her to pedal, so she pushes him to office. At office, everyone gets shocked seeing them together and starts gossiping. Ming calls Shin angrily and says he will complain and protest. Meanwhile, Professor Jian's assistant informs him that someone is complaining about him. He realizes it is Ming and contacts Mrs. Wu. Ming meets Mrs. Wu, his landlord, who tells him to vacate the room because of her daughter's wedding. She also says she arranged separate apartments for Ming and Shin. Later, she thanks Professor Jian for buying the house at a low price. We understand Professor Jian did this to keep Ming and Shin apart. In the office, Shiv comes and says she is a fan of Baby 7 and wants to become a cartoonist. Professor Jian scolds her and sends her away. Shin tries to tell Shiv she is Baby 7, but Shiv does not listen and leaves. Shin is then called for office work. After that, Jocelyn tells Shin about the company boss. When she sees him, she gets shocked because he is Ling, Professor Jian's friend. In the next scene, Ling goes inside his cabin and Ting is already waiting there. She has come to buy Baby 7's comic because it is becoming very popular. Ling tells her it is not really possible, but she can try. Then he sends Shin inside. When Ting sees Shin, she is shocked because she did not know Baby 7 is Shin Yan. She offers her to join her company, but Shin clearly refuses because she was already betrayed before. Meanwhile, Shiv also comes to the office. Ling tells her that Baby 7 is Shin Yan. Shiv is shocked because she thought Baby 7 would be a cute boy. On the other side, Ming is going out to find Shin because she has not come home for many days. But Mrs. Wu comes and tries to make him move out. Ming escapes so he can find Shin Yan. At night, Professor Jian tells Shin that they have a business trip tomorrow, so she must stay at his house again. Next morning, Shin calls Ming and tells him she is going on a business trip. She cuts the call before he can respond. Meanwhile, Ting wants to bring Ming to her company. She sees him at a cafe and offers him a ride to South City. Ming refuses and says he will take a taxi, but she shows him there are no taxis available, so he agrees and sits in her car. Suddenly, Ting changes her mind and says she will not drop him. Ming gets shocked. She tells him to speak politely if he wants help, but he refuses. Still, she agrees to take him because she is impressed by him. They get lost in a village area because Ting does not know the road. Ming asks where they are. She says they are lost and again asks him to join her company, but he refuses. Ting says she will forgive him, but Ming says he does not like her because she insulted Thundercloud Comic. She gets angry and tells him to get out. Ming also says he does not want to stay in her car. When he gets out, his shoes get dirty in mud, and Ting laughs. Then her car breaks down too, and Ming laughs at her. On the other side, Professor Jian and Shin Yan are at the airport. Shin sees a carnival poster and wants to go, but Professor Jian refuses. Meanwhile, Ming and Ting are still stuck. Ming gets signal, but Ting snatches his phone and books a taxi. At the same time, Shin Yan posts about the carnival on social media. A bullock cart comes instead of a taxi because of the rural area. It takes them to the main road. Ming and Ting both see Shin's post. Ting asks if he came for her. He ignores the question. She again asks him to join her company and offers to complete Thundercloud, but he refuses. Meanwhile, Professor Jian books 2 carnival tickets after seeing Shin's post. Shin tells him her grandfather suspects their relationship, so they should send photos. Professor Jian agrees after she shows proof. Later, Ming and Ting reach the carnival. Professor Jian and Shin also arrive separately and take photos. At the carnival, Shin is very happy. Tickets are sold out, but Professor Jian arranges online tickets. Ming and Ting are already inside. Ming thinks Shin will come too. Ting asks if he likes her. He first first denies, then admits it. Ting says she will come with her boss, but Ming says he still prefers being with her. Later they separate, and Ting secretly follows him. Ming notices and asks why she is following him. She leaves another direction, gets lost, and hurts her foot. Ming finds her and helps her. She asks him to take her to a bench because she has never asked anyone for help like this before. He had never seen this side of him before. He takes her to the bench and checks her foot, where he sees blood coming out. He quickly runs to bring a bandage. Seeing him care so much, Ting feels very happy. Meanwhile, on the other side, Professor Jian and Shin are together. Shin keeps asking to go on all the rides, but Professor Jian refuses, saying it is not safe. After that, Shin goes to the claw machine and requests him to get a toy for her. After many requests, he agrees, but he cannot win even one toy and says it is just a children's game. Next scene, when they are leaving, Ming and Ting also arrive there. In one claw machine, there are slippers too. Ming says he will get a slipper for her. Ting says they are dirty and asks if he can even win it, but Ming wins it in one try. Ting gets impressed and stretches her foot so he can put it on her. Ming refuses and says she is crazy, but Ting says she will not wear it if he doesn't help. So Ming finally puts the slipper on her injured foot. She feels very happy spending time with him. Meanwhile, Professor Jian and Shin reach a restaurant. They play a game where they win crabs based on how many toys they catch. Professor Jian wins many toys one by one, making Shin very happy. He says again that it is just a children's game. On the other side, Ming tries but cannot win anything this time, and Ting laughs at him. Later, they go outside and see a cotton candy shop. Ming stops there. Ting asks if he wants it, and he says yes. She whispers to the shopkeeper and tells Ming he can make cotton candy as big as he wants. He becomes very happy. Meanwhile, Professor Jian and Shin enjoy a free dinner. Shin drinks alcohol and says she has no worries now because he is with her. She can even drink more because he will take care of her. She asks about the person he misses. Professor Jian stays silent, and fireworks start. On the other side, Ming and Ting are also going to see fireworks. Seeing her walking with pain, Ming carries her on his back. They become closer. Meanwhile, Professor Jian takes Shin near the Ferris wheel so she can enjoy the fireworks view. Shin wants ice cream. He refuses, saying she already ate and drank, but she insists, so he buys it. On the Ferris wheel, Shin eats ice cream and rests on his shoulder. She asks if he misses the person in his heart. Professor Jian says yes. Shin thinks it is a girl and asks. He asks why she thinks that. She gets confused and jokes that it is scary if it is a boy and asks what they do together. Professor Jian clears her misunderstanding and says it is his brother who left home years ago. He regrets his past and wants to fix their relationship. Shin says she wants to know more, but he says he will tell her another time. Meanwhile, Ming also reaches near the Ferris wheel and sees Ting. He tells her to come down, but she does not come down. Then the scene shifts to Shin, who wakes up in a hotel room. The doorbell rings. She opens the door and sees Ting. Shin tries to close the door, but Ting stops her. Ting says she should not have listened to the two brothers. She also says that when Shin was vomiting, she should have left her there. Shin still does not understand what she means. Ting then clearly tells her that Professor Jian and Ming are brothers, and Shin is stuck between them. Next scene, flashback. We see a drunk Professor Jian carrying Shin. Ming sees this and holds Professor Jian's hand, asking what she is doing with him. Ting says Shin is Professor Jian's assistant and tells them not to fight. Professor Jian gives Shin to Ting and asks her to take her to the hotel. He then tells Ming to come with him if he wants to talk. Present time. Shin asks what happened next. Shin still does not fully understand. Ting is about to explain more, but Ming arrives and stops her. Shin touches Ming's injured face. Professor Jian also arrives, and his hand is injured too. Shin asks if they really fought for her, but both brothers deny it. Flashback again. At night, a person gives Ming pamphlets and leaves. Professor Jian asks Ming if he likes Shin. Ming says he was going to ask the same. They argue. Ming tells him to stay away from Shin. Professor Jian refuses. They get angry, and Ming throws pamphlets on the ground. A security guard tells them to clean it. Both brothers end up cleaning and get injured again while doing so. In present, Shin is shocked and says they are brothers, but never told her. Professor Jian confirms Ming is his brother who ran away in childhood. Ming says he has no interest in any relationship with him. Professor Jian tells him to leave his house. Ming asks if it is really his house. Professor Jian says not only the house, even his assistant is his. He corrects himself and orders Ming to pack and leave. Ming says he does not care and calls Shin his partner. Shin immediately denies it it and says she is only helping with drawings and does not want to reveal she is a cartoonist. Ting watches everything quietly. Professor Jian then tells Shin to choose, either work with Ming or with him. Before she can answer, Professor Jian gets a call that Grandpa's health is very bad. Both brothers rush to the hospital. Ming cries and Grandpa reacts angrily and says he is not dead yet. Grandpa asks if they have reconciled. Professor Jian says yes. Later, doctors confirm Grandpa has cancer and there is a will in his drawer. Outside, Professor Jian tells Ming that until Grandpa's surgery is successful, they must pretend to be reconciled. Ming agrees. Ming moves into Professor Jian's house, but is made to do all housework and gets very tired. He asks Shin how she lives like this. Ming talks about his painful past, family separation, mother leaving, father disappearing, and the fight with his brother. He goes outside. Next scene, Professor Jian comes and says it is Ming's birthday. After that, Shin says this is a very good chance for Professor Jian and Ming to fix their relationship. Professor Jian says Ming does not like celebrating his birthday, but if Shin celebrates it with him, he will not refuse. We see Ming going alone to buy a birthday cake. There, he meets his old classmate who mocks him and says he has not changed at all. They also bring up his past, including his parents' divorce and his brother, which makes Ming very angry. He is about to punch them, but Ting arrives and says, "He is my boyfriend." The boy leaves. Ting buys him a cake and wishes him happy birthday. On the other side, Shin is drying bed sheets at home when she slips. Professor Jian catches her, and both fall under the bed sheet. He tells her not to move because Lucy is there, but actually he just wants to stay close to her. Later, Professor Jian is working while Shin makes noise. He goes to check and sees she is making noodles for Ming. He helps her and tells her how to do it properly. Shin tells him to confess his feelings to Ming first. We see a flashback. Ming's 16th birthday. He was about to cut cake when Professor Jian came and scolded him about fighting. Ming said he wants to become a cartoonist. Professor Jian got angry and destroyed his toys and comics. Ming got hurt, threw his cake, and ran away from home. After that, he never celebrated his birthday again. Back to present, Ming comes home sad. Shin surprises him, but says Professor Jian also helped. Ming gets angry and throws the gift without opening it. He says if Professor Jian cares, he should apologize. He decides to leave after Grandpa's surgery. At the hospital, Grandpa says he wants to see them together. Ming agrees to forgive his brother. Then Grandpa reveals he does not have cancer. Everyone is shocked. Professor Jian apologizes and says he lied only to fix their relationship. Ming is shocked and leaves with Shahai. Shahai tells him Professor Jian is deeply guilty and this is the first time he has apologized. Ming later opens the birthday gift and finds rare toys his brother had collected for him over the years. He realizes Professor Jian never forgot him. Ting finds Ming upset and comforts him with ice cream. She advises him to meet his brother and clear misunderstanding. Professor Jian drinks at home and Shin scolds him. She says she might leave if he keeps acting like this. He hugs her and says he needs her. Next day, everyone gathers at Professor Jian's house. Grandpa says they should focus on their lives and jokes about marriage plans. Then Linnea, Professor Jian's ex-girlfriend, arrives as the new manager. At dinner, misunderstandings are cleared between the brothers, but they still argue. Grandpa is shocked when he hears about Shin being girlfriend, but Linnea clarifies it is fake. Later, at the beach trip, Shin's dress tears and Professor Jian covers her with his shirt. On the other side, Ming meets Ting again after a drone incident. He studies her face and says he will bring her the same lipstick. As he leaves, Ting stops him. Next scene, Ting asks Ming if he wants to know the future story of Thundercloud. Ming gets excited but tries not to show it. She takes him to a yacht. She tells him the story is inside her tablet, which is on the yacht. Ming goes inside and searches the tablet, but he finds no updates about Thundercloud. He realizes Ting did it on purpose. Then he notices the yacht has started moving. He goes outside and sees it is already sailing. He tells Ting to stop it. She refuses and says if he wants to leave, he can jump. Ming is afraid of water. Ting says the yacht will return tomorrow morning. Ming starts signaling for help, but people nearby think he is just waving goodbye. Meanwhile, Shin and Shiv are talking. Shiv gives her advice to flirt with Professor Jian. Shiv locks Shin and Professor Jian inside a tent together and runs away. Professor Jian asks what Shin is doing there. Shin tries to act bold and says she is wearing a bikini and asks if he wants to see. Professor Jian turns away and tells her to wear clothes, but she is only wearing a bikini print t-shirt. She pulls him and he falls. She tries to kiss him, but a ball hits her head and ruins the moment. Professor Jian scolds the kids outside. Shiv then gives them a bracelet game. where their heartbeats must rise to unlock it. If they stay apart, time increases. Professor Jian starts running, but Shin says running will make things worse. They fail to unlock it properly. Shin later sees couples on the beach and tries to plan a romantic moment, but Professor Jian makes her do exercise instead, ruining her plan again. She gets angry and walks away, but hurts her foot. Professor Jian carries her to the tent. On the other side, Ming is struggling. Ting teases him and asks if he likes Shin or his brother more. He says both, but mostly Shin. Ting gets sad and asks if he would still choose Shin if someone better came. He says yes. She offers to help him meet Shin, but he refuses. Ting says she likes his drawings. She takes him away. At the tent, Shin tells Professor Jian she is only playing the game. Professor Jian says he will let her do whatever she wants, but will stop her if she crosses limit. They accidentally share a kiss, and the bracelet unlocks. Shin runs away. Ting takes Ming to a beautiful place. He becomes happy. She asks if he still hates her. He says no. She becomes emotional. At night, Professor Jian tells Shiv he will not let Shin go and does not need help. Shin hears this and feels sad. Next morning, Ming reaches the beach. Ting stops him and jumps into his arms. She gives him a sand timer and encourages his dreams. She starts developing feelings for him. Professor Jian, Ling, and Shiv are returning home. They realize Ming and Shin are missing. Professor Jian gets angry hearing Ming might be with a girl and drives fast. Shin is at her office when she sees the beauty comic book proof. She realizes Professor Jian may see it. She rushes to stop it. Meanwhile, Professor Jian meets Linny, who hugs him thinking he came to reconcile. He stops her. Leo brings the comic books to the office, but Shin intercepts them. She learns Linny and Professor Jian may be engaged and becomes shocked. She sees Professor Jian and Linny hugging and misunderstands everything. Linny says she would have reacted worse if she were her. Shin believes the engagement is real and cries. At night, she packs her things and decides to leave Professor Jian's house. She returns his key and comic. She admits she originally approached him for inspiration, but slowly fell in love. She thinks she has no place anymore. Professor Jian stops her and asks for the real reason. She says she likes him, but his engagement and Linny make everything impossible. She tries to leave, but Professor Jian pulls her and kisses her. At the same time, Ming arrives with Ting and sees them kissing. He gets shocked and runs away. Inside, Professor Jian carries Shin and says everything is real. Just then, Shin's stomach growls, breaking the tension. And Ting is also following him and tells him there is nothing strange that he chose your brother over you. In the next scene, Ming hears something that makes him very upset and emotional. Ting quickly says, "No, that is not what I meant. If you want, you can still be with Shin." But suddenly Ming runs away. Ting runs after him, but cannot catch him. She shouts, "Wherever you are, come out." Wandering at night is not safe. Meanwhile, Ming is standing right behind her. He pulls her close to the wall and says, "You're a girl. You should worry about yourself, not me." Ting replies, "You're like a child. You will go buy a cold drink and act sad again." Then she challenges him to drink alcohol and invites him to her house. Ming agrees and goes with her. Next scene, Professor Jian and Shin are eating outside. Suddenly Professor Jian says, "Let's go on a date." Shin gets shocked. She says they should practice dating first, because this feels too sudden for her. Professor Jian tells her he is serious, and asks her to think and answer him by morning. Next morning, Ming wakes up and sees Ting in front of him. He is shocked and asks why she is in his house. Ting asks if he remembers anything from last night. It is revealed she mixed alcohol and made him drink, and he got drunk. Ming asks why his clothes are changed and tells her to dress properly. But Ting casually changes her clothes in front of him, saying it is her house and she can do what she wants. She says many things happened last night, so he does not need to feel shy. Ming asks what she wants. She says she wants him to leave Shin and come to her. Ming refuses. Ting says things have changed and kisses him. She tells him to get used to it and leaves for work. Later, she watches a video of drunk Ming from last night, where he was in a bathtub and kept thinking about Shin. She asks him again if he will give up Shin, but he refuses. Ming even mistakes her for Shin in his drunk state. Ting realizes he cannot forget Shin. She then lies and says she likes Ming's brother and has no feelings for him, and tells him to give up. Ming gets angry and says if she admits she likes him, he will give up Shin. She says it, and Ming tries to kiss her but suddenly faints. Ting smiles watching the recording. Next scene, Shin is still confused about Professor Jian's confession. Her friends advise her to confirm it directly. Next day, Shin goes to Professor Jian's house and asks if he confessed only out of pity. Professor Jian clearly says he likes her for real. Shin becomes happy and they hug. Shin adds Professor Jian into her comic. They're about to kiss when Shiv arrives happily. Shiv says she is interning at Shin's company and gives them couple items before leaving. Shin and Professor Jian try them on. Meanwhile, Ting misses Ming deeply. Then Ming goes to his fan cafe. In the next scene, Ming is sharing his sad story with everyone. But instead of reacting seriously, all of them start congratulating him. Meanwhile, Ting is waiting outside the cafe for Ming because she misses him and has already tracked his location. Inside the cafe, everyone is laughing and enjoying, but suddenly one of Ming's friends who is pregnant starts having labor pain. Ming gets confused and does not know what to do. He quickly calls Ting for help. Since she is already outside, she immediately comes inside. She understands that the friend needs to go to the hospital, but the friend refuses and says she does not want her child to see Ting's face before birth, so she will not go in her car. Ting feels hurt, but still help, and takes her to the hospital for Ming. At night, Ting drops Ming at his home. Before leaving, Ming thanks her. She gets angry because after everything, he only says thank you. She asks if he forgot everything from last night. Ming says he was not in his senses, so she must have done everything herself. Ting shows him photos from last night. Ming gets embarrassed and says she should have woken him up before taking them. She says if she got pregnant, the child would lose its father. Ming asks if she is blackmailing him. She says she just wants his love and asks him to date her. He refuses. She threatens to send the photos to Shin. Ming says she is not his type. She says she does not care and demands a kiss. Ming refuses and gets out of the car. Then Ting sends him the photos anyway and says she even has more. Ming gets angry, pulls her in, and kisses her, saying, "Is this enough for 1 week?" Then he leaves. Ting is shocked because she did not expect this reaction. Next scene, Shiv is working at Shin's company and discusses Ming's changing drawing style. She talks to Shin about it and asks if she knows Ming likes her. Shin is confused. On the other side, Ming tries to draw romantic scenes but keeps remembering Shin and Professor Jian's kiss, so he gets distracted. He receives a message from Ting, which slightly improves his mood. Ting misses Ming a lot, and soon Ming calls her to meet him. She becomes happy and goes. When she arrives, she covers his eyes from behind, but Ming lifts her slightly in surprise. She then makes him properly hold her. Ming tries to work, but Ting keeps teasing him and says it is time for a kiss. He says he already gave her one for a week. She says his kissing skill is bad and it will last only 1 day. She insists on another kiss, but Ming refuses and asks how many photos she has. She lies and says 500 photos and 1 kiss equals 1 deleted photo. Ming refuses again. Meanwhile, Shiv asks Shin about the next comic story, but Shin has no idea. She calls Ming, who suggests a romantic storyline. Ting is eating cookies when Ming takes one, ruining her lipstick. He gives her the same lipstick and she asks him to apply it, but his hands shake. She asks why he keeps hurting himself by drawing intimate scenes of Shin and Professor Jian. Ming says it is his job and continues working. Later, Shin returns to her apartment and sees Ming's messy drawings of romantic scenes between her and Professor Jian. She realizes Shiv was right. In the final scene, Ming is dropped outside his house by Ting. In the next scene, Ting explains to Ming that he should not draw comics for Shin in this condition. She says it will not help Shin, and he will never draw good comic. Ming replies that she is not qualified to say this to him. He says to her he is just a toy she uses whenever she wants. Ming then tries to leave. Ting stops him and says if she only wanted to use him, she could have done it long ago. She says she has many handsome employees, so why would she chase him? Ming asks why she is always behind him. Ting says she likes him, but immediately says forget it and walks away. Ming is shocked and stops her. He asks if what she said is true. Ting denies it angrily and says nothing happened that night. She says he is free from today and she will not bother him again, then leave. Ming goes home upset and sees Shin there. Shin says they have not eaten together for a long time, so they should eat together. She makes hot pot. They eat together. Ming eats spicy hot pot even though he prefers sushi. Shin notices and says he should not do things he does not like. Ming says hot pot is fine and he will eat it. Shin becomes serious and says they should clear things properly so no one gets hurt. Ming says why she is so serious. It is just hot pot. Shin says he should not need to compromise for her anymore. Ming understands she is serious. Shin says says he no longer needs to work for Dress for Beauty comic and they are not partners anymore. Ming becomes very upset and cannot look at her. Ting goes to Zhaoxu with a contract and says she will give any money, but she wants Ming. Zhaoxu says Ming resigned 1 hour ago. Ting goes to find Ming because he is upset. On the way, Shin calls her and asks her to take care of Ming and his dream. Ting says she made the decision too fast. Shin says it was the right time or Ming would suffer more. Ting reaches home and sees Ming drunk outside. Ming asks for his pen, saying Shin gave it to him and it is important. Ting says she does not know and even if he finds it, he cannot work with Shin again. She asks him to stay there tonight. When she closes the door, Ming pulls her to the wall. She says he is not in senses and she is not who he thinks. Ming says he knows she is Ting and kisses her. Next morning, Shin wakes up in Professor Jian's office. He gives her a hangover drink. Flashback shows she cried last night for Ming. Professor Jian says what she did was necessary for Ming's future. During a meeting, he hides Shin under the table. While picking a file, he accidentally kisses her and her fantasy comes true. Ting wakes up and sees Ming. She is shocked and asks why he is still there. She sees he made breakfast. She does not understand him. Ming wants to talk about last night, but she tries to leave. He stops her and says he will date her from today. She acts happy but says he is acting and she does not need sympathy. She tries to leave again, but he stops her and says he will take responsibility. She asks if he likes her. Ming says no, then says it is a mixed situation. He asks her the truth if she likes him. Lu Xing says, then what? Takes his hand and says they are strangers from today and will never meet again. She closes the door. Ming says he will show what he will do. In the office, Linny comes to Shin and asks if she is Professor Jian's fake girlfriend. Shin says she is not fake anymore. She is his real girlfriend. Linny says she belongs to Chi family and knows her hometown. Shin is shocked and asks how she knows. Linny says Professor Jian has made many sacrifices for this project and tells her to ask him. She says it is strange he suddenly became nice. Shin starts doubting Professor Jian. Professor Jian takes her to lunch, but she feels uncomfortable. He says he is going to America and wants to spend time before leaving. At home, romantic scenes make Shin uneasy. He tries to come closer, but she avoids him. Next day, Shin asks Leo for project detail. He says it is secret and only Professor Jian knows. Her suspicion grows. She checks his cabin but finds nothing. She finds papers in dustbin, sees project and her father's name with a May date. She thinks she had not met him then. She remembers he said her father is an architect. She thinks he is dating her for her father's work. She hides when she hears someone coming. Professor Jian enters. He gets a call from a girl calling him baby and saying she will pick him at airport. He says they will spend time in America. Shin confirms he is cheating. Lu Xing meets new cartoonist, Ming. She is shocked. Ning says he came because she wanted to hire him. He closes curtains and comes closer. Someone enters and they act normal. He is introduced as new employee Ming. Shin is overworking for 3 days because she is sad after Professor Jian left. Ming calls Shin's office. Lu Xing sees this and gets upset, thinking Ming is dating her for Shin, so she leaves angrily. Shin is very disturbed. Friends ask if she is upset about Professor Jian. She says he may be cheating and shows recording. They suggest calling him, but his phone is off. They think something is wrong and send her to a party. At party place, no invited people come. It was arranged to fix Shin's face. Shin arrives. She meets Jin Shi, her high school senior. Flashback shows Jin Shi proposed to Shin in school, but she rejected. In present, Jin Shi holds Shin's hand and runs because fans chase him as he is a famous singer. She sees him and gets excited as she is his fan. Jin Shi invites them to VIP party. Shin refuses, but Shu agrees. At office party, Ming only looks at Ting. Boys insult her. Ming beats them. People separate him. Ting stops him, but he says he cannot tolerate it. She feels happy seeing his care. At private party, she sends Shin's photo to Ling. Shin reads comic and misses Professor Jian. Jin Shi talks about her past, but she denies any relationship. She drinks. Boys flirt with her. Jin Shi asks her for a chance. Shin tells her story. Jin Shi asks if Professor Jian is cheating. She says she does not know but still trusts him. Jin Shi says they will toss a coin to decide love or cheating. Ming goes to room, makes funny voice with balloon and says Ting is bad. She thanks him and says she felt good when he stood for her. She asks to date again. He cannot speak properly. She laughs. He kisses her and she also has funny voice. They laugh. Shin chases Jin Shi for coin result, but she throws coin and says he chooses her. Jin Shi says maybe fate wants this and he knows result. She says a coin cannot decide relationship and leaves. Jincher says many girls want him, why she refuses. Shaji worries about Shu. He finds her drunk. She says she will focus on work now. Shin and Jincher exchange WeChat. He tells her a trick to test Professor Jian and wants reward. Someone takes Shin away suddenly. Jincher loses her. Shiv searches for Shin. Shaji stops her and says someone who loves her has already come to save her. Flashback shows Xiaozhou called Professor Jian and told him about Jincher. In the present, Shu thinks that her brother is in America, so how can he come to save her? Ling tells her he can still come back. Then a flashback shows Professor Jian already returned from America but did not go home. He really likes Qin Yan and becomes out of control when he is with her, but he also respects family rules. So he stayed away from her for some days to control himself. After saying this, Ling takes Shiv away. On the other hand, Shin asks Professor Jian why he came here when he should be in America with another girl. Professor Jian asks who told her this. Shin says she heard it herself. Shin gets a call from Jincher, but before she can talk, Professor Jian kisses Qin Yan and ends the call. Shin says if he can receive calls from girls, she can also receive calls from boys. Professor Jian agrees and calls him back. A girl answers and calls him honey and asks if he reached home. Then she hears Shin's voice and asks who she is. Shin gets angry and asks who she is. The girl says she has been calling him baby and honey since childhood. Shin thinks she is his girlfriend, but then the girl asks if she is his girlfriend. Then it is revealed she is Professor Jian's mother. Professor Jian explains everything and says Shin is his girlfriend. He says he will introduce her properly later in Shin. Shin learns from Ling that he was not cheating. He only returned from America. Professor Jian also shows Ling's message with Jincher's photos, which was meant to make him return quickly. Now Shin understands Ling planned everything to bring them together. Professor Jian takes Shin to a private place. Shin asks why they are here. He says if she does not trust him, why did she come? Shin says she does not mean that and makes excuses. Professor Jian says this will be their private space to make memories. Shin feels sad and says she does not know when he started liking her. He says he also does not know. He closes her eyes and says he just wants to be with her. He says his life changed after meeting her. He also says he may try to control her life, so the decision is hers. Shin asks again why he did not pick her call. He says if he heard her voice, he would not be able to stay away. Shin kisses him and accepts him, and he kisses her back. On the other hand, Ming drops Tingo at her house. She asks him to stay, but he refuses. She says they're in a relationship, so why not? He says family rules are the problem and kisses her forehead before leaving. Ling takes Shiv home. She falls asleep on his shoulder. He does not wake her because he will leave her soon. Tingo is happy that Ming cares for her. Ling warns her about complaints against Ming, but she defends him. Ming's assistant Jean tells him Tingo does not write comics herself. Others do it for her. Later it is shown that others do most of her comic work, and only her name is public. Ming says this is wrong. Jean challenges him to make Tingo work properly. Ming goes to her and asks to observe her work for 1 week. She agrees and calls him to her house. Ling takes care of Shiv since childhood and advises her to focus on career as she turns 20. Jean tells Hwan that Shin's comic will become an anime, which worries him. He tells Jean to spread rumors online and hide this from Tingo. At Tingo's house, Ming becomes strict and tells her to work, saying he is only an editor now. She cannot draw. He gets angry. She says she has no inspiration and then works with him. He sends her incomplete work to Jean. Jean says it is not finished properly. Tingo asks for a reward and says she knows he is pretending to be strict. Ming leaves. Shin gets trolled online due to plagiarism rumors. Professor Jian stops her from attending an event, but she still goes. A company offers to turn her comic into an anime. Professor Jian is about to explain something, but she is taken away for photos. Tingo and Ming meet Mrs. Pei, the anime company boss. She refuses their proposal. An accident causes her to cancel the meeting. Ling spends Shiv's birthday with her but plans to leave without telling her. Shiv kisses him, but he calls it an accident and leaves. Next morning, Ting goes to Ming's house and meets Mrs. Pei, who is revealed to be his and Professor Jian's mother. Tingo misunderstands, but Ming explains. Professor Jian and Shin arrive and also learn the truth. Mrs. Pei pairs them and gives them a vlog challenge for approval. Later, Ling disappears after transferring his company to Tingo. The couples meet awkwardly while filming their vlog. Conflicts rise as misunderstandings continue. Tingo learns Hwan caused problems and confronts him, then ends partnership. Ming doubts her, but she asks him to trust her. He leaves angrily. Tingo cries, feeling misunderstood. In the end, Shin thinks about Tingo when Ming arrives at her home. We see Shiv thinking about Ling because no one knows where he is gone and he is not answering her calls. Next day, Ting comes to her office and Ming takes her to an aquarium. He tells her they have proof against Hwan because their conversation was recorded in a recorder that was in Ting's pocket. Ming plays the recording for Chinen. Ting always felt guilty for Chinen but never told anyone. Chinen feels sad after hearing the truth, but she records a message in the same recorder and sends it through Ming. She tells her to forget the past and start a new beginning. Ting hears it and feels relieved because her guilt is gone. In the next scene, Ling is not missing. He is working in a restaurant near Professor Jian's house, which is his own restaurant. Professor Jian asks him why he left Shiv suddenly. Meanwhile, Shiv finds a diary in the office with all her childhood memories and a photo of her father and Ling. She learns that Ling promised her father to take care of her. Her father died during mountain climbing while saving Ling, so Ling always feels responsible. Professor Jian tries to convince him, but Ling refuses to return. Chinen is walking Jibao when Mr. Su, a film actor, appeared. He flirts with her and pretends to be Jibao's ex-owner. He even answers Professor Jian's call and acts like him. Later he reveals he will keep meeting Jibao and Chinen cannot refute. Professor Jian hears everything and decides to come back immediately. Ming finds out Ting cancelled all projects and joined Thunder Cloud. Hwan forces Ming to continue her work or he will ruin her career, so Ming agrees, but works secretly all night. Ting learns this and confronts Hwan. She decides to end the contract. Hwan threatens to destroy her reputation, but she refuses. Ming breaks out of the locked room and stands by Ting. Mr. Su again flirts with Chinen, but Professor Jian exposes him as fake and he leaves. Shiv finally meets Ling. He tells her the truth about her father. She feels hurt and says she will not need his care anymore. Chinen and Professor Jian secretly register their marriage. Ting exposes Thunder Cloud online and feels free. Ming supports her, and they plan a cycling trip. Shiv and Ling argue, and she gets drunk and emotional. Next morning, Hwan is arrested and Ting is proven innocent. Professor Jian plans marriage and honeymoon. Shiv and Ling finally accept their love after she refuses to leave him. At Grandpa's house, Mrs. Pei arrives, and everyone gathers. Ting and Ming return in bad condition after their trip. They explain all the problems they face. Mrs. Pei reveals evidence against Hwan and says she did it for Ming. Ting says she truly loves Ming and will wait for him. Mrs. Pei says she will not allow marriage until she herself gets married first. Everyone is shocked. Later, Shiv stops Ling from leaving and he finally accepts her. Professor Jian discovers that his mother and Chinyan's marriage partner's father are the same person, leading to family shock but later reconciliation. Finally, the wedding day arrives. All couples prepare. Professor Jian gives Chinen a letter saying he will marry her after 100 days. On the 100th day, he proposes properly, and she accepts. They get married and confess their love. In the end, flashback shows their childhood wish cards were exchanged by mistake, proving destiny brought them together. The drama ends with a happy romantic ending.